What's up, guys? It's Ninja Turtle for Blurdy.com, and finally I can say that it's happening. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It's not Marvel vs. Capcom 4, but we'll take it. It's happening. It was announced at PlayStation Experience a few weeks ago, and one of the buzzwords, the things that's been going on, discussed about this game is about the X-Men. Will they, in Fantastic Four, make it into Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? A lot of the outlets have been reporting saying that this game will focus on the characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you don't know, the X-Men, those movies, that's the X-Men Days of Futures Past, that's the X-Men First Class, that's the Storm with Halle Berry and Patrick Stewart, and all those movies, Hugh Jackman and so on, are not a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and neither are the Fantastic Four movies with Jessica Alba or with Chris Evans as Human Torch, or the recent one that was really bad that came out last year. That's also owned by Fox, or 20th Century Fox. Those are not a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that feature the Avengers and so on. So the too long didn't watch or didn't listen to version of this video, just in case anybody doesn't care to watch the whole thing, is whether or not the X-Men are going to make it into the game, and how can they make it into the game. And the short answer is yes, they can be in the game. There are various ways, and it's not as difficult as it sounds, but will they is something I can't really answer for you because I don't work for Capcom or Marvel, so I can't say that, but I do think they will be in the game. So if you're sticking around to watch, here's a little exposition for you. So the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise has its roots really in the X-Men Children of the Atom game. That was made by Capcom. So that is something is worth noting, because that is a pre-existing relationship that shows the roots of the X-Men in their gaming franchises. So these games, all these games, not just the X-Men, but even other games like Spider-Man. Spider-Man games were not always made by the same people, and it involves a gaming license. It's not the same thing as the cinematic license that Sony has over Spider-Man, and they still do have, but they share with Marvel now. The cinematic license for Fox, for the X-Men and for the Fantastic Four belongs to Fox, but it doesn't mean that some gaming company developer can't make games for them. But it does mean they need permission from, say, Sony. If I want to make a Spider-Man game based off of the movie version of Spider-Man, I need to ask Marvel for a license, and then I need to go to Sony and say, can I use your likeness of your character in the movies? But if I was going to make a Spider-Man game based off of the comic books, it's just strictly I have to ask Marvel for a license. So those games made by Activision that featured Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and the games that featured the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, you have to go to Sony specifically to do that. And even with the X-Men, those X-Men games of prior years, you have to go straight to Marvel if they're just the comic book versions. And if you want to make a video game, say like the X-Men Origins Wolverine, that is something you have to ask Marvel permission for, and then you have to go to Fox and ask, say, can we use your Hugh Jackman Wolverine? Can we use your movie cinematic Sabretooth, your terrible Ryan Reynolds Deadpool? Can we use that in the video game? And yes, you can. You just have to have proper permission. Nowadays, those games are, coming back. And I say those games meaning the console side. So here's what happened. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was taking off, and as it was taking off, Marvel decided they wanted to continue, and this is partly due to Disney as well, because Disney bought Marvel back in 2009, and it was just like a slow transition to bring all of their assets in, especially with the success of Iron Man. And by bringing their assets in, Marvel did a huge fire sale back in the 90s because they went bankrupt. So they were trying to sell whatever rights they could to whoever wanted to buy them so they can get some money in the bank, because they were, again, bankrupt. That's why all of this happened in the first place, with Sony having Spider-Man and the X-Men being sold off to Fox and so on, Daredevil included. But over time, as Marvel got their self together, they were able to they put all their money into Iron Man. Basically, they had nothing left, but it made them a ton of money, and that's where Disney came in and said, okay, I think we see potential, we're going to buy that stuff from you. But to wrap that point up, the video game side of that doesn't really have anything to do with the movies, but they do make their decisions based off of the movies because they're trying to keep everything connected. There's something that you do hear often with Marvel, is that everything's connected. The TV shows, the movies, the video games, and that's something that they did try in earnest to do, is connect the video games to everything else. So back before then, they had all those Spider-Man games, again, that Activision made for the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the Andrew Garfield stuff, and the other video games that were made for consoles. But Marvel's console games weren't anything great. The regular Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 2, the Spider-Man 2 game, that's a fantastic game. That is an excellent game. Still one of my favorite comic book games of all time. But there's few and far between with Marvel's console games. Once Batman Arkham came out, mostly all comic book games were pretty trash. But when that came out, people realized, hey, there's something here. There's something we haven't been doing right with video games. And the continued success of Arkham kind of made Marvel jealous from my perspective. And they decided to just stay out of the console game because nobody was really respecting their properties and giving it that kind of love and attention that the Batman Arkham games were getting. So they decided to go and focus on mobile. This was a decision, again, the director of Marvel Games decided to make, to say, hey, we're pulling out of the console race. We're going to make mobile games. And that's why you saw games like Marvel Avengers Alliance on Facebook and mobile. You saw games like, and still see, Contest of Champions, that's all mobile. You see Marvel Future Fight, that's all mobile. I think it's like pinball game, and there's various things, but it's all mobile. The Marvel games have been largely missing in the console realm, with the exception being the Lego games, which brings to the greater point is that when you make a game featuring a comic book character, you have to get the license specifically from that comic book carrier's that publishes it. However, if you're going to do the movie versions, you have to go to, say, Sony and say, hey, let me get the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and then go to Marvel and say, we're going to use Spider-Man. That is specific for one character. However, if you want to make a game that featured multiple characters across the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like basically all of them, a game like Marvel Ultimate Alliance that was on consoles, you don't have to go to specifically you don't have to specifically get a license for each individual character. You get a license for the whole thing. You say, Marvel, I want to make a game with all of your characters, and they say, okay, you can use all of them. You can collectively have the X-Men with the Avengers, with the Fantastic Four, and so on. And again, that's basically Marvel Avengers Alliance, and games like that, like Marvel vs. Capcom, because they have the license from Marvel to make the games based off of Marvel characters, not off of specifically Colossus, specifically Cyclops, specifically Captain America. They don't have to do 30 different licenses. It's just one. As far as Marvel games goes, earlier this year, they have a new director in charge of Marvel games. So those focuses on the mobile platforms is going to start dwindling down, and they said they want to focus more on the console side, because like I said, the comic book franchise video games, I should say, have taken a great leap forward because of what Batman Arkham Asylum has established. So seeing the big picture, they know that there are developers out there itching to get their hands on Marvel properties, and they haven't been able to do so because of the prior director's desire to focus on mobile games instead of consoles. So that's why this game is happening in the first place, and that's why you have games like Spider-Man coming out, made by Insomniac, that's coming out later in 2017, I believe. But that's why that's happening. It's because this new director wants to focus more on console side. Sure, there's plenty of money to be made. That's why you got your Super Mario Run that just came out. You got Pokemon Go, and Nintendo's focused heavily on mobile, but they're still trying to make console/mobile games with Nintendo Switch. But there's money to be made on mobile, but there's also a lot of money that Marvel has left on the board, left on the table to be made on consoles. And now with Insomniac and Capcom on board, people are getting what they want on consoles because of this new director's desire to focus on console gaming. So they can totally make an X-Men game, or the X-Men in this game, with the Avengers and Spider-Man and so on, and Fantastic Four apply here as well. But when I say that, there's also the grain of salt is because of what's been going on with specifically the X-Men, not just in the movies, because we know that again they don't belong to Marvel Studios, but with the comic books as well. So the comic book decisions on those characters have been heavily based off of the success of the movies, because if Marvel's not making money off of the movies, then why push the comic books, then why push the toys, and so on. The X-Men have been pushed out and pushed aside for going on about 10 or so years. Just been a whittling down of their numbers, both in their actual scale and in revenue. The characters went from having millions of mutants across the globe, to having like 200, and then they went back up, but it's still very much obscure. And they've been pushing the Inhumans a lot more in the comics, and then in turn also pushing them a lot more in the cinematic side. And there even is going to be an Inhumans TV show coming out later in 2017, which will actually debut on IMAX screens in theaters, the first 2 episodes, and then they're going to put it on TV, which is awesome, but it's not the X-Men. However, that gives me the reason, again, that they're going to do more X-Men stuff, because that Inhumans was supposed to be a movie that comes out 2019, but it's now going to be a TV show. So maybe, I think that Fox and Marvel are working together behind the scenes to make more content to push the X-Men, because it's still a very, very valuable franchise to have. With that being said, they are, Marvel and Fox, working together to make Legion, which is a new TV show coming out in February, again made by Marvel Television and Fox together. They're working on other X-Men properties for television together. So even though things have been pretty bad for the X-Men lately in the comics and even in the movies, X-Men Apocalypse was awful, there is hope and there is something brewing, and I believe that the X-Men can absolutely be in this game. It's just a decision of whether or not Marvel wants to put them there. Now, whether or not we're going to get a cinematic version of those, are we going to get Hugh Jackman running around in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite? I doubt it. Highly doubt it. But it's possible. I doubt we'll get any like voice lines or any sort of cinematic feel. I think this entire game is really going to be more based on the comic book versions of the Marvel characters, not the cinematic versions. That includes the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they're going to do Star-Lord, but I think it's going to be the comic book Star-Lord and not the movie version. So I don't think Chris Pratt's going to be in this game. I don't think you're going to have Vin Diesel as Groot. I don't think you're going to see Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Chris Evans as Captain America, because that just involves a whole lot more paperwork, a whole lot more licensing issues, and just more work in general. We already can tell from the trailers that this game, the gameplay, the character models are very much so being borrowed from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Ultimate Marvel 3, and even Captain Marvel, who's a completely new character, has never been in any of these games, her moveset is very much like Phoenix. Like pretty much like Phoenix from Ultimate Marvel 3. They just threw a Captain Marvel skin on her. I'm not mad at it, but it doesn't mean that there won't be Phoenix or any. Actually, I don't think Phoenix is going to be in Marvel 4 or Infinite, but that's a whole nother thing. Still, it's just a reskinning, or up-resing of these character models for the modern consoles. So having these X-Men characters won't be a completely difficult thing. They're just going to put on more modern things and so on. And as far as the Fantastic Four goes, it's the same deal. However, the Fantastic Four themselves have never actually been in any of these games. It's been Doctor Doom, Galactus, and Super Skrull, who is just an amalgamation of all the Fantastic Four characters, which I honestly was very pissed off about when that was announced. But whatever. I would love to see the Thing and Human Torch in these games, but we'll see. I don't think that's going to happen. The actual Fantastic Four comics have been pretty much shut down as of last year. The actual series have stopped printing based on the event called Secret Wars 2015. The active group is no longer together. Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, and their son Franklin, their daughter Valeria, and a guy named Molecule Man are recreating the universe, and it's very behind the scenes, and we haven't really seen or heard from them since last year, and I don't expect any of those characters to make the game. The Thing and Human Torch are out and about, but they're still pretty low key, and again, the Fantastic Four themselves are not relevant. They're not going to be relevant anytime soon, so don't expect them. However, X-Men, that can happen, but this is a Marvel decision, because if they're using the comic book versions only and not the movies, this is just whether or not Marvel wants them in the game. And of course, Marvel likes money. So if they want our money, which the rumor is that they're going to be DLC characters, and I completely believe that, then they'll have my money. When Marvel 3 was announced, or when it came out, I bought the Steelbook version of it. I wanted the best of everything. I wanted all of it. Even though Steelbook versions of anything are terrible, I still gave them all of my money. And when I thought about DLC, I said, hey, it's probably going to be $5 a character for Marvel 3. It's probably going to be $2 or $3 per stage. Whatever, I don't care. And when Ultimate Marvel 3 came out, that's pretty much the math right there. $40 for Ultimate Marvel 3. You get 8 new characters, a bunch of new stages and sounds, and some balancing issues. And boom, that was that. I bought it day one, and when Marvel Infinite comes out, I'm buying it day one. I'm gonna get the season pass, because they're gonna do that. They're gonna have all of my money, so whatever comes out, I'll be there for it. And whatever happens with this game, I'm going to make videos about it. And also, like I said, I've been actually wanting to make videos on a Marvel vs. Capcom 4 for about a year now, since I've pretty much had this channel and the website, but I just hadn't gotten around to it. I didn't have a great reason to do it. I was just waiting for a slow day, and I was just gonna throw some stuff up there. But now that this is real, I'm totally gonna be making more videos on Marvel Infinite. So make sure you subscribe, you like this video, thumb it up. Give me some comments. What do you think about the video? Think about the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Do I sound crazy? And so on. And I know, before you even go any further, the gameplay of Marvel 2 and Marvel 3 on the screen is mine. That's me. I'm terrible. I haven't played in too long, and I have a lot to get used to. So go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. It's fine, but I promise that as I play more, it's gonna look better. I gotta clean up that Chun-Li. Make sure you subscribe for more videos. They're coming in the days, weeks, and months ahead, and I will be there for any news that breaks out about the character lists. But we're gonna make our own lists, of course. Again, Ninja Turtle for Blurry.com signing off. Thanks.